Okay, so with the runner in the core deck, you've got three choices: Anarch, Criminal, and Shaper. But whereas the corporations are just a corporate symbol, these guys are individuals. So the first one we've got is the Anarchs, who has Noise as a runner. And the Anarch Noise is all about disrupting the corporations, all about the viruses in the deck. The Anarch Suite, which means they're icebreakers, because that's often how they're identified, runs a lot of fixed strength ice, such as Yogg and Mimic, and these don't get any stronger. They can't get stronger, but they're extremely cost efficient at breaking whatever they can break, but if it's beyond their means, they're absolutely useless. They still have one of the best barrier breakers in the game at Corroder, like it's still used. But they have lots of neat tricks. For instance, Medium is a card. Virus counters basically mean whenever you fulfill a certain criteria, you put one of these counters on there. So this builds and builds and builds. Medium, every time you make a run on R&D, you put a counter on there. And that means that every counter, you get to see an additional card. So a Anarch deck, a Noise deck, can end up seeing 5-6 cards from R&D, which is insane when compared to the normal one. They've got things that lower the strength of the ice, such as Data Suckers, which build up virus counters and can spend them to lower the strength of the ice, which is key for icebreakers such as Yogg and Mimic. Ice Carver, which just lowers the strength of the ice all the time by 1. Deja Vu, which lets them bring back cards, particularly viruses, to use again. Demolition Run, which lets them run on the hand all the R&D and trash the top card and trash any cards that they see. Combined with Medium, you could end up trashing 7 Corp cards. They've got Jinn, which allows them to host all their fancy viruses away from your main hand, not taking up space, and allows them to be dug out. Parasite, which is an absolutely insane card, which you install on a piece of ice and steadily, turn after turn, eats that ice alive. Stimhack, which sums them up really well. You make a run, you get 9 credits to spend on the run, but at the end of the run you'll take a brain damage. It's the ultimate gamble. If you think there's an agenda there, you're going to have the money to get there, but if it's a bluff, you're going to have blown up your brain for nothing. Wildside, Go Clubbing. At the start of your turn, you lose a click, but you gain 2 cards. So it's more efficient, but you have less choice. And Noise as a whole, every time one of these viruses is installed, he's going to trash the top card of R&D, which means that priority wreck the corporation didn't even know was coming is suddenly now in the archives, which if they hadn't already protected, you're just going to score for nothing. Against Noise, you either don't protect your archives and you lose, probably, or you protect your archives, which means you've got to spend more ice. The Anarch deck is all about making the corporation very, very sad. Speaking of sad corporations, Gabriel Santiago, the Criminal. The Criminal deck is all about money. Gabe's game is simple. Every time he runs on the HQ, he's going to get 2 credits. If you consider in the game that you spend a click to gain a credit, spending 1 click to take a card from their hand, potentially score an agenda, and you get paid to do it, is insane. The Criminal deck is all about money. They've got Easy Mark, which gives them 3 credits just off the bat. Bank Job, they run a job on one of your remote servers. They don't even access the card. So that trap you thought they were running, they weren't even running it. They were just making 8 credits for nothing. They've got tricks to get around the corporation. They're not going to smash through it like an Anarch. They're going to forged activation order that Heimdall that you've got sitting there waiting till you've got the money. You either pay to res it now or it's trashed. Inside Job, they're going to skip a piece of ice. That surprise itchy you thought you had for them, they're around it. And now they just walk through your ice wall and score that agenda you thought was safe. Sneak Door Beta, they install this, they can run your archives and treat it as a run on HQ. So you've got to protect your archives against them in case the Sneak Door comes out. But do you waste time protecting your archives when they're going to be running your HQ all the time because it's Gabriel Santiago? They've got still considered one of the strongest cards in the game, as if Gabriel didn't already love HQ enough. Account Siphon, make a run on HQ, take 5 of the corporation's credits. For every credit you take, gain 2 credits. At the end, you gain 2 tags. Even if you were to spend the rest of your turn shaking those tags at 2 credits apiece, presuming you steal 5 from the corporation, that still means you gained 6 and they lost 5. Don't forget, if you Gabe, you're already gaining 2 anyway. Now, the weakness, they also have several ways of shedding tags, because they're criminals, they know how to get rid of them. They've got crash spaces to dodge them. They've got decoys to avoid getting them. Now, their weakness, despite the fact in their deck they have the special order to get whatever ice they need, their weakness comes in their ice. They have Aurora, who is a heavy-hitting barrier breaker, but so goddamn expensive. They have Ninja, a really cheap sentry breaker, who I'm pretty fond of. Actually, they're quite decent with sentries. They've got double action on the sentries. Femme Fatale, the most expensive icebreaker in the base game. You choose one piece of ice and she's kissed it. It means that she can get through that ice for 1 credit per subroutine. She can get through a toll booth for 1 credit. She doesn't even pay the encounter cost. However, ask her to do much else, she's not very good at it. They don't even have a code gate breaker. They must go out of faction to get one. And I'd be very surprised if they didn't go out of faction for their barrier. On top of all of this, they have still considered the best console in the game, the Desperado. You get extra memory. Whenever you make a successful run, gain a credit. So you're getting paid for running. You run HQ with these guys, you're getting 3 credits. You're seeing a card, and you've made a run. The criminals are absolutely brutally good. And then we get on to Shapers, the artists of the game. These guys aren't going to win a race. Kate's whole thing, she lowers the cost of installing programs and hardware, and that is pretty much what the Shaper's about. They've got the heaviest hitting barrier breaker in the core game, the battering ram, but it's an MU hogger, 2 MU, which means it's very difficult to install that and something else, but it can smash through. It's the best way for getting through a Heimdall. Gordian's Blade, the argument between what's better, Yogg at a fixed strength that gets through weak code gates than nothing, or Gordians, which has to pay to get through the most common, but can get through any code gate in the game. Gordian is an absolute beast. Their Sentry Breaker, however, is CAC, as it costs a huge amount of money to boost it up to the strength. They almost always go outside of faction. They've got cards that let them draw cards. They've got cards that give them extra memory. They've got cards that make ice stronger. They've got cards that can change the type of ice so that they can break through it. They've got the Maker's Eye. When they run an R&D, they can look at 3 cards. They've got Aesop's Pawn Shop. If you've got a piece of crappy hardware that's not doing anything for you, sell it. Gain some money. They've got Magnum Opus. They are the most money-efficient card in the core game, no question. Huge MU, huge cost to install, but you're doubling your financial production. They've got Modded. They can get cards down even cheaper. They've got Sacrificial Construct. It doesn't matter if you're going to trash one of their programs. They just chuck that in the way instead. Kate already comes with a link, so she's hard to trace. Throw in a couple of rabbit holes, you're never going to find her. They have an absolute behemoth, although not the behemoth, which is from the expansion. In the toolbox, massive MU, massive link, 2 reoccurring credits to smash through icebreakers. It's not as good as the Desperado, and it's a bit too expensive, but it shows just what they're going to do. They're going to get their rig out, and they're going to run through anything you put in front of them. In terms of fluff, the Anarchs are your cyber terrorists. They are running because they want to bring down the system. Some people just want to watch the world burn. The criminals are in it for the money. They're going to run. They're going to take everything they can get. It's just financial gain, which is why they've got so many slippery tricks. And the Shapers are artists. They are the sort of people that run, they see a puzzle, they don't want to solve it for the reward, they want to solve it because it's a puzzle. Which is why they have an amazing suite of icebreakers. And those are your 3 core runners.